So we're trying to get our viewers, our parents, guardians ready for the new school year. Tell us what new programs they can expect.
For our 5th graders, they will all be taking robotics this year.
That's great.
I know, we want to make sure that our students are introduced to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. STEM is so important. And in the elementary school, we want to make sure every kid had access to the program. So that's going to be really exciting. All of them, can you see future scientists and mathematicians and all being introduced into that. So we're really excited about that. And also our portrait of a graduate. So we've been talking about that. There was a community convening that we had back in 2019 where we talked about our vision and those 6 attributes that we want our students to master. We're going to see our elementary students being exposed to those portraits by doing activities. You're going to see Portrait of a Graduate ambassadors. So students are going to be coming home with work with their families as they learn more about those 6 attributes. And those attributes are like global empathy, creativity, technology, critical thinking. So we're really excited that those programs are going to happen. And also introduce it to math curriculum. So families may see some new math materials coming that our students would be studying and learning about. So we really want to make sure that we had curriculum that was very inclusive to all of our learners. Okay. So our curriculum team has been really working to make sure that we had the materials that were for all learners and that our teachers were trained appropriately.
And so when you talk about, I'm going to take those backwards, the math, is that for pre-K through
Pre-K through 12, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And so talk a little bit about the emphasis on math as it relates to STEM, because I know that's where the robotics is.
Yeah, so one of the things that we have learned, and we saw the data that shows that students that could think critically, really, those skills are really those lifelong learning skills, right? They're strategic thinkers. So not only learning to read, but learning math, and those math skills are very important. So we wanted to make sure that the math programs that we were utilizing through the district for our pre-K students and our 12th grade students, that they were building blocks, right? So you build upon those math skills in every grade, but that those materials that we could also send them home for families to help. Right? We didn't want anything that was so difficult for students that when they go home and say, Mom, Dad, or Grandmother, let's help with these math problems, that those materials, we had supporting materials to help our families when our students were at home.
So is it easy? Because as a parent, you said math, and I all of a sudden heard the Charlie Brown teacher. Am I going to be able to help my child?
Well, I think at some point, all of us have been really afraid of math, yes. But I think of math, we have to say more as building blocks, right? What do you learn in pre-K, and how do you build on that in kindergarten and 1st grade? And really gets students the opportunity to learn math differently too, right? So it's those hands-on projects, even if it's counting things at home and adding things and with your family. So there's so many different activities that you can make math fun that students don't realize they're learning something that's very difficult, right? That seems to be very difficult.
So you're laying the foundation then early so that when it gets harder in middle and high school, they can go to the teacher for help.
They can go to the teacher for help, yes. And again, they're building blocks, right? And then students understand how to use math every day. Some people think, well, why do I have to take algebra and geometry? I'm never going to use it again. Well, when you're building on those math skills and those critical thinking skills and problem solving, in many ways you're using math and you don't even realize you are. Students should be excited to come to school every single day. So if they're excited about math or reading, they want to come to school and be engaged and include their families in those activities after school.
And then I wanted you to talk about the robotics, 5th grade. So it's a time when we're not so into the roles, and so young girls can also get involved in that STEM and that kind of STEM learning?
Oh my gosh, yes. One of the things that is so important is when you see girls, you see these girls coding clubs, right? And see girls that are really interested in fields that for many years were not open to girls. So robotics is one that we want kids of all ages, and we thought fifth grade, you can fifth grade students get involved in robotics and they can see themselves in different spaces. You look at now Amazon, right? They're using robots, right? You see commercials even in some restaurants, they're using automation, right? So how do we get our kids to be excited about that and involved in that early? And we believe fifth grade is that way, it's the end of your elementary years, you're building those skills, and when you get to sixth grade and middle schools, you're coming with some additional skills that you can build upon.
And then portrait of a graduate. Yeah. So that the foundation there is important because we're really working to improve the graduation rate.
Yes, so in 2019, people may not remember, we had this convening of community leaders along with school leaders to talk about what are our hopes and dreams and aspirations for the students in Columbus City Schools. And so the community said there were 6 skills that were very important that we wanted our students to master. And that was so important because not only did the school district own that, but also the community to help provide those experiences. So we think about global empathy, creativity, critical thinking, communication, technology. You think about all of these skills that we believe that students will master, that when they graduate from Columbus City Schools, they are ready for either the workforce, the military, or college. But either way, they will be ready. Okay. So we want our students portrait ready, and it starts in kindergarten. So you're going to hear kids that this language about, I am a portrait of a graduate ambassador. One third grader, I'm telling you, just this quick story. So a third grader at Fairmore Elementary School I went to visit, and the second and third graders met me at the door and they said, Superintendent Dixon, we are the POG ambassadors. They told me all the 6 attributes. One young lady said, if you need any help with your cell phones, technology is my skill set and I can help you. To hear that common language really demonstrated that our kids get it. We're saying that our kids are leading the way. That is so important that we let our kids out front. They would do it. They would make us proud, but we have to give them the opportunities. And being portrait ready is giving our students those opportunities, those leadership opportunities from pre-K to 12th grade.
That's exciting.
Yes.
And they probably could work the
phone
much better than we can.
So much, yes.
Can we talk about transportation?
Yes.
Because last year, especially on Wake Up CBUS, I felt like we were always talking about this district and other districts, there was a delay or there weren't enough bus drivers. So what do parents need to know about that?
Well, for we want our students, our high school students specifically, opting in this year, right? So if you plan to utilize transportation, Columbus City Schools transportation, you have to notify us that you will utilize transportation. Because in many cases before, we would use our riding system, and here are all the students that use, that potentially could ride the school bus. And for other reasons, they may not utilize the stop. Well, we want to make sure we're operating more efficiently, so we're asking our families to, if you plan to ride the bus, opt in. And then that way we will make sure that we're making those stops so that if we have a shortage of drivers, we have a more efficient routing system rather. And then that way we don't see as many delays because we are stopping exactly where kids are and need that transportation.
So that was part of the issue. You didn't know there was a bus stop there, or that somebody was waiting to catch a bus at a place.
Or they may have been utilizing the school bus, right? So our buses were stopping at places that kids were already at school, may have been, maybe rode with a friend or a family member. So we really want to get to efficiency so we can get all of our students to school on time. I mean, we're transporting almost 40,000 students when you think about our students, our partners with our charter and parochial schools, and we want to make sure all students get to school on time. So efficiency was important.
And then can you talk about do you have enough drivers? I've been driving all around Central Ohio, and a lot of districts, not just Columbus City Schools, are saying help wanted.
Yes. So we want transportation. We need more bus drivers. So we do have training. You can train with us. We will pay for all of the training and your license. So if you want to drive with Columbus City Schools, please go to our website and apply. And so we're utilizing some incentives, such as we would pay for all of your training. And there's a driver shortage across the country. And so we really want to encourage, family members, whomever want to be a part of our transportation team to please sign up. So we have some people that we are still in training now. So I think we have about 36 people we're bringing on pretty soon. By August 2nd, I think they're going to be boarded. So yes, and we have over 500 currently employed, but there's always the need to have more of our more members on our transportation team.
And but you still need more.
Oh yes, it's always good to have more because sometimes you may have a driver that is ill, and we just want to make sure. And we have additional routes too. For example, we have field trips during the school day. We have after-school activities. And so the more drivers we have, the more opportunities that we can provide for those students in order to transport them to those other activities.
All right, you said illness. That makes me go to another question. School health, I also am the medical reporter, and I've been talking about this BA.5 variant. The experts are saying the fall could be really bananas with this new variant. What kinds of mechanisms are in place to keep kids safe? I mean, are you thinking about going back to a hybrid or anything like that? Talk about.
Yeah, so, one of the things I really appreciate is having Dr. Mashika Roberts, oh my gosh, and having Dr. Sarah Bodie from Nationwide Children's Hospital as our consultant. And so we work closely with our medical experts to advise us if we need to make any changes in our protocols or our practices. Right now, we will still have those mitigating strategies in place. If we need to move and pivot, we will absolutely do that with advisement of our medical team.
Okay, parental involvement. Can we talk about your best advice for ensuring the kids are ready to learn? Because I know they're kicking it this summer.
Well, you know what? One of the things is we have over about 6,000 students who signed up for our summer experience.
I saw that.
I know. Well, you know what? Last year we moved to a summer experience strategy rather than summer school because we wanted our students to be excited. So we continued it this year. Fortunately, the city also offered grants to various organizations. So there are kids across the city involved in so many hands-on fun activities. So to our parents, as our students are involved in summer programs or not, make sure they're reading. They have this wonderful reading partnership with the Columbus Libraries. We have home libraries that we've been providing for students, so students have books that they can read and build their own personal libraries with books that are they're inclusive, right? So if you want to read books for about little black girls or brown girls or boys, those books that we have that really, so that students can see themselves in what they're reading. So make sure students are reading at least 30 minutes a day, kind of get off of their devices and even do some math problems or reading to them. I think it's so important we get our students back into those routines. We know in the summertime that they're a little relaxed. Yes. So as we get closer to the beginning of the school year, we may want to start them going to bed a little earlier and getting back into those routines that are so important. But reading every day, this life-changing. Just 30 minutes, 45 minutes a day, just go to the library, sit in a corner and just say, hey, my mom used to say, are you reading today? What have you read today, Talisa? So I think, I know, they want to make sure. My mom said, reading is fundamental. You don't know anything unless you're reading, because you really can see yourselves in those books and really imagine the unimaginable things in the book. So I really think reading is so important.
Let's talk about school safety. What changes, updates are in place to keep kids safe.
Yeah.
You know, we saw the Uvalde
Yeah.
video, and I know that we reported a few times that there were weapons coming into schools. So what do parents need to know about this school year?
Yeah, thank you. You know, we don't want to compromise safety for our students, and we know that families, you know, safety before learning. You know, they want to make sure that students come to a safe environment. So we are, one, we want to make sure that families are just saying to their kids, you know, you cannot bring weapons to school. You know, so if you see something, say something, even if you say it to your parent or to a friend or to your teacher or your building principal. If you suspect something is not right, please report it. And also to our parents, check your students' backpacks, right? When they're getting their backpacks and their books and things ready for school and their lunch bag, just do a once over. Just kind of check to make sure that it's nothing in there, you know, anything that even looks suspicious is there. And just kind of keep talking to your kid about safety issues. Even walking to school, you know, making sure that they're walking safely, they're staying on the sidewalks, those things. We are also, in the schools, we're making sure that our protocols are in place. We know when families or visitors come and sign in a building, there is a place, a vestibule that they sign in. There's a database that parents and visitors have to show their ID. So we're making sure that any visitors come to our schools or have the appropriate credentials and should be there. We're making sure the doors are locked. All of those safety protocols. We're even having special, you know, making sure those drills. So I think that is so important because we don't want to compromise safety, but we're making sure that we revisit and are practicing those drills and making sure families are aware of those drills and the things that students should be bringing to schools and not.
And so for families who, mom, dad, grandmother, they're working, they can't check my backpack, what's the next step before I come to the building?
Yeah. So if the families can't check their backpacks when they get to the schools, I mean, so we are working on having metal detectors in our buildings. Now we have random checks where we are wanting our students' bags when they come in, and we're going to continue to do that at our athletic events. That's something that families wanted, and they felt safer, you know, that we were able to do that. But in our schools, we're working on, you know, if we're going to have those metal detectors at all of our buildings so that students, when they come through, that they feel safe. Now, we don't want to have a strategy where kids are, it's a security check in a sense, but it cannot impede with students coming to school and learning, right? But we go through them in, you know, our airports and other places. It's going to be a part of, I mean, we go to even the public libraries sometimes, you know, they have those screenings. But we want to make sure that kids feel safe. Even when they're in a school bus, when they get on the school bus, if they want to have a conversation with a school bus driver, or when they get off the school bus and they see the security personnel or another team member, they should be able to say something. And if a person asks to check their backpacks, our students should be open and say, you know what, yes sir, yes ma'am, here's my backpack, you know, you can feel free to check it.
Sort of a new reality.
It's a new reality, you know, but we don't want to compromise safety, and we want to reiterate to our families and our students what should be brought to school and what should not be brought to school, and why. Because some may not know, you know, even as you stated, if you know we're sending out materials, parents may not, for some reason they may not read it, but to just really reiterate that it's very important that we have safe schools and that students are bringing the appropriate items to school every day, and if there are ever any questions that they should reach out and ask.
Okay. This last question is about you. How far do you think you've come as superintendent of this school district, the largest school district in the state?
Wow, you know what? This is year 4 in this district, and it'll be year 9 as total as a school superintendent. We've made a lot of progress, I believe, even during this pandemic. You know, when we think about We have our strategic plan. We have we have our long-term vision with our portrait. We're practicing a new board governance model. We have a new curriculum. We've increased the number of staff members, so we have the number of school counselors and social workers, family ambassadors. We wanted to make sure that we have enough support around our students and have those safety nets. So when they come to school and they're learning, they're engaged, and they have the supports that they've needed. So I feel like we've made a lot of progress even during the pandemic, and there's still more work to do. We still partner with outstanding partners to make sure we have additional strategies to help us lift this work. Like the third grade reading guarantee with United Way. That's important that we have other partners that are helping us lift this work. And with City Year, communities and schools, we have so many partners that we are working with. That's really important, that partnerships, that people understand the value of the partnerships, and that we have this ecosystem that people understand that the school district cannot do this work alone. And the power of one that we talked about, this power of one partnership, one university. Our university partners with Ohio State and Columbus State, Artebon, and others, is that collective impact. Together we can ensure that our students are portrait ready, that our parents and families have the additional supports that they need to make sure their students are ready for school every day, and that really have the conditions to learning. I'm excited about that. We have 2 additional health clinics that are coming next year, a partnership with Primary Health and Nationwide Insurance. So we want to make sure that when students come to school or families, there's no barrier. So if you need to be checked by your nurse or a physician, it's right here on a campus. So that has really, I think, doing this, one of the learnings from the pandemic is Columbus City Schools have valuable partners, and we're opening our doors to more partners to help us ensure that our students are portrait ready. And I think that's important. We're one community, and because we're one community, we all have to come together to ensure that our students have the best education, and that we remove as many barriers as possible so that our students are successful.
So knowing what you know now, for a young person who sees this story, or they're just watching the news and they're thinking, I want to be an educator, and you think about your start as an educator.
Yeah.
There's so many spokes that go, you just not come into the classroom and saying 3 times 3 is 9. I mean, what are your thoughts on how the whole process has evolved?
Yeah.
It's seriously multifaceted.
It is. One of the things I think today's educators, all educators, have to have one thing in common, is that we care about kids. And when kids see that you care and that you see them, they will work so hard for you. I say all the time, you hear me say the 2 most important people in Columbus City Schools are our teachers and our principals. That's who kids remember. Very few people remember a superintendent or a support. They don't, right? But they remember that teacher and that principal who made a difference in their lives. And when you think about that impact, and how can you think about, okay, we have 112 buildings, 112 principals and administrators, and over 4,000 teachers make an impact, man, what can we do, right? And if you want to be one of those, yes, you care about kids, you want to make sure that they have all the support that they need to be successful. This is a rewarding field. Sometimes is it stressful? Absolutely, right? But when I get up every day and I think about how blessed I am to serve this community, it makes those sad days, happy days, and those tough days worth all the effort that you put in, because at the end of that, a student was more successful because of the work that you've done.
Somebody's starting in summer school, and it's not summer school, it's all the time.
Right, it's Woodcrest Elementary. Yes, those babies go back early, the year-round school. I know they're excited. I know they're getting ready. And, you know, that year-round model has really worked well. The families love it. The students love it. So really excited about them. So I will be there the first day welcoming those students and families in. So get ready, Woodcrest. And then also we have this, we will have our first school, it's like a community fair, back to school fair on the campus of Fort Hays. So families will get to come and they will get school supplies, they can pick up resources. We're really excited about all the vendors who's going to be on Fort Hays campus that day.
All right, so give me a hint. What kind of vendors?
All right, so nationwide, Children's Hospital will be there. There will also be places for students if they wanted, families want to get backpacks, different school supplies, if they need some information about health. Just supports for families, so they will all be there. We would have students, teachers, if families wanted to register, if they wanted to register for school, you know, the enrollment office will be open that day. We wanted to make sure that families have one stop, right? Right before schools, a week before school starts, and families may say, oh, I need school supplies, I may need some additional resources. It's one stop, or hey, I just moved and I haven't registered yet. So you can come that day on the August 20th, that's Saturday, and you can receive those supplies. If there's additional support that you need as a family, because a lot of families are transitioning and they may want to say, well, what's happening at the library? What's happening at the museums? What are some other things that activities I can get my student involved in after schools? Those resources will be there. So we're really excited that a lot of our partners across the city will be there to support our students and families and get them ready for school.
Okay. And then superintendent in residence, what is that?
Oh, wow. So my first year, I was selected by the Ohio State University. Myself, a rural superintendent, and also a suburban superintendent. And we advise the College of Education on educational practices that are happening throughout the state. And we also get to partner on various research initiatives. We've been able to hire graduate assistants who are doing research for us. And it's wonderful. I mean, last summer we used psychology students who were a part of our summer experience. We have graduate students that are working in our Department of Equity and our Department of Performance that are really making sure that some of these strategies that we're utilizing, that they're writing research articles and studies about, from that. So it was a 3-year ask, and they have actually asked me to stay on another year. So this will be my 4th year as a part of that. So really able to really make sure that Ohio State University and Columbus City Schools are partnering closer together. And I think that's so important. And we were able this year to have our first STEAM Rising professional development, and that is those teachers in the science and math departments at Ohio State University were able to do 3 weeks of training with our teachers. And STEM, oh my gosh, it was wonderful, yeah. So those are the type of partnerships that we're able to utilize and create, rather, but as I'm in this residency program. So it's really important, I think, and that we see the impact of the largest university and the largest school district, and making this collective impact on the community.
And the view that you have, I mean, the view from all of these leaders, you know, city, rural, and suburban, for the people who are in school. Yes, right.
To
learn the different issues.
The different issues, yeah, and the barriers we need to remove and still get kids prepared for that university and other universities, I think is very important. And our teacher practices, what are some things that we can pilot? What are some things we can do differently? And really working with those top universities to do that work is exciting, yes. So really excited about that work and some other things that we've been able to do. Just really excited that people are looking at Columbus City Schools as a value partner that are really producing some high impact graduates, doing some important work across this community.